Hi, welcome to lecture number 3 in Teaching Creative Dance. The topic of today is controversy within dance education field of teaching creative dance. You might imagine that the dance field is too small to have controversies where people argue the value of one method of teaching over another, but certainly it is not. There are three major controversies of which I'm aware of in our field of teaching creative dance. Number one, the first is the idea, should you use the Laban grid of the body as an instrument with space, time, and energy as a way of teaching creative dance, or should you work from the idea of developing creativity from the expressions of the individual through stories and ideas that the individual comes up with? The second controversy is, should you use abstract ideas to explore in teaching creative dance, or should you work with storytelling? The third controversy and question is, should you teach dance as a discrete topic and subject that has its own elements and is worthy of consideration within itself, or should you use dance to teach the other core topics in school such as science, math, and English, social studies, and so forth? Now, a great educator from the University of the Philippines that I met this summer at a dance education in Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia said problems are really good because they make us look at things more deeply. And I think that that's really the answer to why problems and controversies are important, because they make us look at things from a larger viewpoint. So let's examine these three controversies from larger viewpoints. The first, Laban. We owe a great deal to Rudolf von Laban. He was the first person who helped us to understand the complexity of the theory, and he developed the theory of the body as an instrument with movements that can be done from an axial, staying in place perspective, and then across the floor locomotor with our different body parts. And he helped us to understand and gain respect in the larger world, because music has theory, art has theory, where in the heck was dance theory? Conversely, some say that teaching from this point of view takes the soul and essence out of dance. People want to dance because they are moved to do so. They have heartfelt feelings which need expressing. They want to interpret the ideas around them that they themselves feel connected to. So why is this controversy here? And why are there people who will vociferously fight about it? Well, because dance has both the essence of communicating from the self to the outside world, and there's also a theoretical perspective. The value of teaching from Laban is that you don't leave much out. People understand that their movements have shape, that they take place in time and space, and that you need to explore different types of energy. And very often feelings come forth from working with these very abstract ideas. Also, though, we must realize that Laban taught in and of itself can be a very dry and boring subject. You can only dance about volume so many different ways before you really long to express something else. So it's important to bring both of these things into your classroom so that you connect the ideas of space, time, and energy to things that students understand from their real world experiences. Number two, the controversy between teaching from an abstract topic or from stories. My husband Mark and I performed in many different schools, and very often teachers would come up to us after our performance and say, "Why don't you dance about stories? The children would love to see Snow White. They'd love to dance or see dance about Cinderella." But our perspective was kids are really inundated with stories, and they see plenty of that on television and in movies. But very often, other teachers would come up to us and say, "Oh my goodness, you did a dance about cranes, about those tall birds, and out on the playground, so many children were trying standing on one leg and flapping their arms and dancing about that whole outdoor space." So I think really that gives an indication to how we often limit ourselves when we merely think that children have to dance fairy tales or stories. But at the same time, stories are really connected into what creates a sense of belonging for a child or a person in their own lives, and how they connect to family and the cultures around them. Stories that grandparents tell about their lives are very important to children, so that they understand that they're part of several generations. So in all ways, I think you can look at how you might be able to explore the elements of dance through stories, or conversely bring in ideas that are abstract and explore them, rather than limiting children to just acting out or pantomime without really experiencing the energy that it takes to create a dance. So the third controversy is, should we teach dance as a separate and discrete topic worthy of its own class and classroom, or should we use dance as a tool in which to teach things like science and math and social studies? The argument is, for dance to be respected as a topic, it needs to be taught in the same way that music and art are taught, as something to learn that is valuable intrinsically in and of itself. The argument for the other way of looking is that children learn in many, many different ways. Some children learn through hearing, others through seeing, but many children learn through doing and involving themselves. And if you can teach the multiplication tables through through dance, by golly, then you should. So my perspective on this is that it's possible actually to do both. You can teach with dance as a discrete subject and bring in those world topics at any point to enrich your life, and vice versa. You can teach as a classroom teacher social studies and have the children do folk dances or make up their own dance about what it's like to be at their elementary school. So I really think that all three of these controversies are important to think about as you teach, because there is no just one way to teach creative dance. And I implore you, ask you, to think about these questions and controversies as you create your lesson plans for your students. Good day.